Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to do our commodity technical analysis update. We'll take a look. I'll give you my financial opinion, and we'll dive through DXY, the dollar, 10 and 30-year yields. We'll look through precious metals and any other commodities that I follow. And if you guys are interested and need help in selecting some leverage stocks or any stocks in general, definitely check out my website. The Platinum membership is the membership that I would go to. It's finding-value.com. All right, so let's dive in here, give you my opinion. We'll start with the DXY. I call it the relative strength indicator. And we've got this strong selling pressure that happened in here. We had a weak bounce, and we're kind of just moving sideways here. Which way is this thing going to go? We're right at support of this long-term support level. That's that long-term support level here. And we're playing with it right now, and it could be acting as resistance where we could head lower, or it's acting as resistance and we're using it as support and we'll bounce higher from it. The reason that's important is the relative strength of the currency determines the pricing of the assets that are priced in dollars. So if we see a weaker dollar, it's a tailwind for our investments. If it's a stronger dollar, it can be a little bit of a headwind. Usually when we see the dollar kind of roll over here, that's what we saw in the year 2002. The peak here and then the rollover lower. The fractal's the same fractal as before. So I do think that there's a high probability that we could head lower here with other currencies like the yen and euro and some of those other ones gaining a little bit of footing, having their energy crisis maybe get a little bit not as dire. But that's what the dollar's at right now. We'll see which way it breaks. That is one thing that I am watching. The 10-year yield is still in a firm uptrend, lots of momentum behind it. It looks ultra bullish from a monthly candlestick perspective. And the 10-year yield is what's causing all the havoc in the markets. The 10-year yield or yields chase inflation higher. It's bonds selling off. So yields are going higher. We've got that long-term breakout for a new shift to increasing interest rate environment. I doubt this will go straight higher. I think we'll see a pullback at some point. But right now, it looks very strong. You can say that also about the 30-year yield rocketing higher today, up 1.4%. And again, inflation is driving these yields higher. It's a major shift out of the bond market, and it's a major breakout on a long-term perspective. That usually does very well for commodities and precious metals, and it's usually a huge headwind for the overall stock market, and definitely bonds. Bonds are what's selling off. And then bond prices are falling off a cliff. We're heading lower, lots of momentum lower. And that is on a daily. Let's look at the dailies here. Lots of momentum heading lower. We're down 0.83%. I do not see a bottom yet. There's nothing telling me that this is bottomed yet. So momentum is still lower, and that's kind of where I'm thinking it's going to head. TYX to TNX, we are higher today, but TYX is outperforming TNX, but they're both higher yields. With a flat to slightly higher dollar, that did impact gold a little bit. This is the commodities. Commodities just moving sideways there. Gold moving sideways. We're getting that bloody nose. The bloody nose is usually a continuation pattern to the upside. So we still haven't broken these downtrends. We still have a lot of overhead resistance above us, but we've got the bloody nose. Is what I call a small selling pressure day next to a large bodied candlestick, green candlestick. And it usually indicates that we could potentially go higher. But are we going to break through these resistance lines? That's what we need to see and find out. Silver doing the same thing, the bloody nose, big bodied candlestick with a small down day. And platinum also getting that bloody nose today. So let's hope that that's a continuation pattern. We'll see tomorrow if we continue higher. And it can also have a small down day next to it as well. That would still be a continuation movement. XAU to gold ratio down a little bit today, meaning that the gold and silver miners went down a little bit more than gold. We're still moving sideways in this pattern, chopping back and forth. It looks undecisive to me at this time of which direction it's necessarily going to go. So SILJ, yep, went down a little bit. It is a bloody nose. It still looks good for a move higher. We're above support. Everything looks in check. GDX it's the same pattern. We're between a support resistance line, support below it, resistance above it. And we got that bloody nose today with a small profit-taking down day from Friday, after Friday. Rolling down to crude oil. Crude oil is moving sideways. So we've got not much buying pressure and selling pressure. It looks like the buyers and sellers are equaled to each other. And natural gas looking like it's trying to put in a little bit of a bottom here. We came down, tapped the support line, and came back on higher. We still have a lot of momentum behind this move. It may have to bounce sideways for a little bit before moving on up. So it might take some time to bottom out here and carve something out of the bottom. And XOP, with the market, crude oil being slightly lower, natural gas being higher, it's still at this resistance level. Now, we could pull back here if the sellers push us on back, or we could explode higher. We're right at this resistance line. I do see a little bit of, we'll call it, coming up into a corner where we could break and fall back down. I know that sounds weird. Or if we can get some good buying pressure out of crude, we could break up and move on higher here. So which direction are we going to go? We're right at that decision point. And if we head lower, I think we're going to do a big loop. If we break on and move higher, I think we're just going to step it higher. And that's with XOP. Now, OIH has decided to break to the upside. So this guy is breaking to the upside. Looks fantastic from an energy service perspective. And we're really starting to close strong the end of this month if it continues. Looking at the dailies, we've already broken to the upside and it's running a little bit. So is XOP going to follow the energy service companies? It's possible. And we're going to have to see if we can get a break here and if oil is going to go higher. Natural gas is already quite low, and I think we could see a move on higher there. Looking at uranium, this is the uranium future pricing. Future prices look good. They're moving on higher. That looks fantastic from a futures perspective. The Sprott, and that could be a day delayed, just to let you know. The Sprott Physical Uranium Trust is moving sideways. I mean, it's lower today, minus 3.43. But we're coming up to that resistance line, and we have to break through that. That's what we want to see. We got a little bit more selling pressure today. It's not a reversal candlestick, but it is a little bit more selling pressure than I'd like to see. There's still some selling pressure there. Uranium, not looking too bad. We do have a little bit of selling pressure there. Could it be a bloody nose? I'd like to see smaller down days than that. I'd like to see a big up candlestick and then a small down one next to it. But we've broken the downtrend line. We'll see if the buyers come in here and push it higher. And then CCJ also holding steady above its support line. Everything looks okay at this time. Scrolling down to TAN getting a little bit more selling pressure there, but we do have a candlestick at the bottom, which is a hammer candlestick pattern, which is usually a reversal pattern. We could head lower, though, in the short term and come back to that support level. I don't have much in this, so I don't really have a huge opinion on it. They are heavily government subsidized, and they're not making money at this time, so I don't have too much, if anything, in here. It's very small amounts. COPX is right at that support level. We have a down day today, but we've been putting in some big bullish engulfing spec here and getting some nice big green candlesticks. So the buyers and sellers are battling it out here. We have to see which direction it wants to choose. If I were to choose, I do think it could go higher because we've broken the downtrend line. We're basically chopping sideways. And usually that momentum will finally work its way on up. If I had to choose a direction. Commodities and the S&P 500. The S&P 500 is outperforming commodities. That's oil going down and the overall market's going up. And we're starting to see a pullback in this ratio. Is this a double top or a short-term double top? It's possible. And we could see a little bit of a pullback after this overall. Oops, coming into rare earth metals. Rare earth metals getting that bloody nose, what I call it a small profit taking down day today. Nice big up candlesticks, bullish engulfing, bullish engulfing. So that still looks good for a move to go higher. Lithium, same setup there, bullish piercing, bullish engulfing with the bloody nose today. So that still looks positive. Looking at the S&P 500, still looking great. We had a bullish engulfing last trading session, and it's continuing higher today. Same with the US NASDAQ. Overall, we are in this big pullback zone, and we're getting a little bit of a bounce here in the short term. Slightly stronger dollar, but we're still seeing weakness in EEM. Usually this is inverse of whatever the dollar does, but 3.8% lower, pretty big move to the downside for emerging markets. We're also looking at XHB, which is the home builders ETF. We've broken the downtrend. We were creating a higher high if this holds. We want to see this go up and break this for an uptrend for the housing market, or for home builders, I should say. But that's what it's doing right now. We have not broken that uptrend. It's not an uptrend yet. We're just kind of chopping sideways. Lumber slightly lower today. We're still looking all right from that perspective, though. We're just at a resistance line. We've got cocoa futures moving sideways, still looking all right, still above support. We've got wheat getting a little bit more selling pressure. I would be looking for a further move to the downside just by looking at these large selling pressure candlesticks with not much buying pressure. It looks to me like the sellers are starting to take over here. Soybeans is also getting a little bit more selling pressure. I would assume that this is going to head lower with this large selling pressure, not much buying pressure to push this higher, and we're starting to see the sellers come in to push it on down. Corn just moving sideways there. I don't see any clear direction. Small down days, small up days, small everything. Copper getting a little bit of selling pressure today. It still looks like a battle to me, and we're just chopping sideways at this time. No clear direction. Mu getting I call that the bloody nose. That's usually a continuation pattern higher, even though a lot of the soft commodities that we just looked at look like they were going to go lower. And then looking at aluminum, it was playing with its support level. That's right where we're at, is at that support level. And then we've got, this is iron ore. Now, iron ore is right at support. This is kind of a long-term, let me get off logarithmic, a long-term support line, and we're right there at support. We'll see which way iron ore breaks. This is heavily followed by dry bulk shipping, because iron ore is one of the dry bulk shipping. You can see that we've come on down quite a bit for iron ore, but we're at support right now, and we'll see which way it goes. We can look at the Baltic Dry Index. Baltic Dry Index slightly lower, right on support. So that's also on support. It's a different big support line for there. And that's what I've got for today, guys. So that's what I've got across the markets there. I still think gold, silver, precious metals look good for a potential bottom. We have not broken the downtrend yet, but we might take a run at it. Looking at oil, we've broken the downtrend, and we're just moving sideways. Natural gas looks like it's at support, hitting that support level, bouncing back up. Uranium looks probably the best of the group. That looks really good in terms of future pricing, uranium futures pricing. So that's looking very positive. Overall, looking at all the different sectors, I think uranium and energy services look the best of all the different sectors. And if you guys need help picking anything out, or if you need some companies that you'd like to look at, definitely check out the Finding Value Platinum membership. I go over all this. We went over a long question and answer session that we talked about a lot of different companies that look good. There's even some other areas that I think that look really good right now that we don't talk about that often. Big downtrend lines are breaking. We're moving to the upside, and I think there's a lot of upside potential in those that we talked about last Platinum session. If you guys like the content, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed yet, and we'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.